So I've seen quite a few questions online about if you can use a non-electric system aircraft or something like this Champ to get your private license in, and if it works out for a check ride. And we've been doing it for a couple of years now, so I just wanted to show you a little bit what modifications or changes we made to this one to be able to do sport, of course, but also private pilot check rides in it. And the past couple of years it's worked out really well. This one is pretty light too, so useful load is we can do full fuel, which is about 13 gallons, which is 2.7 hours worth of fuel, and then we can have me, which is about 165, and up to about a 220-pound person as well in the front seat. So it's also pretty roomy with the even up front here. The biggest issue is probably getting the stick all the way back on landing if you're a little bit bigger, but for most people it works out really well. So yeah, we'll go over some of the changes here that I've made, kind of set it up so that we can meet all the qualifications of for a private pilot check ride. So yeah, some of the things that I added here. So we have this Dynon, and it is fully self-contained. It has its own battery pack in it. I do have an antenna plugged in right here to get a little bit better reception. But like I said, it's fully self-contained. I just plug a charger in. Honestly, it lasts a couple hours when you're actually flying. I don't use it a whole lot. But again, it does what it needs to do for the 3 hours of simulated instrument time, and then the time needed for the check ride as well. So put foggles on and fly off of this. Of course, for that we can also use our turn coordinator here, which is vacuum driven for the needle, and then we have the ball there. So you can use that, but this works really well. So one thing to note on this though, that is GPS altitude and then ground speed. So you can't use it for airspeed, but the ball actually almost perfectly mirrors the actual ball suspended in the fluid here. And then it has a kind of a DG, and it'll read out your heading on there. So it was a little tricky to set up, and you got to make sure it's really tight on there, so that it's not moving around, because if you move it, it'll change kind of what's level on the artificial horizon there. It did come with a mount that could actually clamp into one of these holes here as well if you took an instrument out. But if you do that, you can kind of tell here on the Champ the instrument panel is actually tilted slightly, so there wasn't enough adjustment in the instrument. It has to be more vertical with the airplane. We also have a red flashlight up here. Not that we do much night flying in it, but if we needed to, we have a red flashlight there. I put the intercom up here on the side. Actually, it was up here when I got the plane. It can run off of either a 9-volt battery, or you can plug it into like a cigarette outlet if you have one, a 12-volt outlet, and then run the wires down here to a handheld radio, and then the handheld radio runs up, and there's a push to talk button here for the student pilot up front. It is a little bit hard to switch if you're soloing from the front. You can reach back and change frequencies if you kind of know what you're doing, but it can be a little tricky. In the back, I use my Garmin headset, so I just clamp the volume control and everything in there. The front person plugs in here, and it just kind of hangs behind them and doesn't really get in the way much at all. So then ran an antenna. I did just use the regular stick antenna for a while on the handheld radio here, and it worked pretty well. But if we were going into a towered airport, it was only about 6 miles out or so that we could actually get reception. So I ran this antenna up through there, and you can see up on top there, and now we can hear like 60 miles away pretty clearly, and transmitting is still pretty good as well. So it works out really well. We do have lights on here, so I have nav lights and 2 strobes. However, I don't have a landing light, so like I said, we can't really do the required nighttime for a private. You have to do that in another airplane, but you never have to solo at night. anyway for the requirements, so it works pretty well. You can just find an airplane, take a couple of night lessons, and then I just have a battery just sitting here, not permanently mounted either, and that's what runs the lights. And also I have that plugged into the intercom right now because we were going through 9-volt batteries pretty quickly, so that just makes it a little bit easier. We just plug it in every night. I have a kind of quick and easy checklist here, and then a more thorough checklist here in the door with pre-flight, and then just all our normal procedures, because we need to make sure, even though it's a very simple airplane, we need to make sure we're teaching checklist usage and everything, just like you'd be in a more complex airplane. Yeah, so again, the Champ here, you can solo from the front or back, which we'll do a more detailed video on the differences between the J3 Cub and some other airplanes and this one, but you can solo up front or in the back, which is really nice, especially for students. So we put them in the front, they can do all their dual instruction that way, and then we climb out of the back and they keep flying that way, versus a J3 where you'd have to solo in the back, so it's just a completely different sight picture. One other thing that I did have to do, the airspeed indicator was moved over here. Obviously, being an instructor in the back seat, I wanted to make sure that I could see that. So for most students, I can see it pretty well. Some I have to peek over their shoulder or even look at the reflection in the window. For the most part, I can see that really well. The other thing that I did is I moved the carb heat. So this used to be cabin heat right here, and carb heat was back here, which works for both seats really well. But I found that a lot of students on go-arounds, they would kind of shove down too quickly on the carb heat here, and it would actually end up bending out and broke that bracket there. So having it up here just puts it where the student can see it, to think a little bit more about it and not forget. So it seems to work a lot better there. And if I'm soloing the back, I can just reach up and grab it, but usually we solo from the front anyway. This one has some air vents here, which is nice. You can turn on and open up, and then the window is just a magnet here, so that makes it nice to get a lot of air, especially in the back as well. There goes the Stinson this morning. And yeah, the other thing, so this being a no electric system, there's no starter on it, so we teach hand propping and everything as well. So over at our fuel pump there, I have a tie down for the tail, and then over at our hangar I have a tie down as well. We teach it if you're by yourself, you tie the tail down and you chock the wheels every single time you're hand propping it. If you have somebody with you, then it's easier just to have somebody in there holding the brakes, and then you hop in afterwards. But when you're by yourself, you got to be careful to make sure it's tied down. As far as navigation goes, we usually just use ForeFlight, which is an advisory circular from the FAA that allows us to do that. We could also have like a handheld or portable GPS unit as well, which would work out to kind of learn some of that. But usually ForeFlight on either a phone or a iPad works the best, and that's what you're going to be using for the most part anyway. Of course, we do have a compass, and we always teach those compass errors and pilotage and dead reckoning with some paper charts as well. So that's a great basic way to learn. And yeah, this airplane just is a great way to learn your stick and rudder skills. Also, it really exaggerates some tendencies, such as adverse yaw and your left turning tendencies. So if you're having a hard time understanding that, and maybe in a Cessna 172, you can go fly this, and it just exaggerates that tendency a lot, so you can really see and tell exactly what's going on, for some more visual learners or people who actually want to see how it actually affects the airplane. This is our Venturi tube, which runs our vacuum system, which is just for that turn coordinator. That's the only thing that's on there. And then pitot-static for our airspeed and altitude right here. It does have full dual controls, so we have a stick and then our rudder pedals and brakes up front there. We have a throttle up there. We have throttle in the back here with the brakes and rudder pedals and stick right here. Yeah, the carb heat is just up there, but then we have trim back here and just another perspective of the radio from the back seat here. So it's pretty roomy back here. It's definitely, in my opinion, is definitely nicer than sitting in a 172 or something where you're kind of smashed up against the other person. So yeah, that's some of the changes we've made to this Aeronca Champ to make it possible to do private pilot check rides in it. We'll do another video in a little bit here just showing why I like the Champ so much and some of the other features of it. So make sure you subscribe to our channel and follow along.